And this week's guest is perfect to have the week before Halloween because she is a huge horror movie fan. In fact, she has a lot of tattoos of some really cool characters from the movies, which we'll definitely talk about. And she also is a retired pro wrestler who is known as a classy broad. Mm. And she has two amazing podcasts. The first one's with her best friend, which is called the Best Friends Podcast. Makes sense, right? And the second one is Pop Drunk, which she does with her husband, and it's about Funko Pops. And let me tell you, their setup is amazing. It is immaculate. I love it. But I don't want to get too much into that because we're definitely going to get into it a little bit deeper once we get into the podcast. So if you don't know who I'm talking about already, this is Heather Owens, and you guys are definitely in for a treat. Hey guys, welcome to Talkin Sass. Today I have with me one classy broad, and she's into a lot of fun stuff that we're going to get into. Do you like those Funko Pops? We're going to talk a bit about that. Do you like horror? We're going to talk a little bit about that. After all, it's October, and we're also going to be talking about maybe a little bit of paranormal. But before we get started with all that, let's introduce her. She is none other than Heather Owens.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing, Heather?
I am doing fabulous. How are you doing?
I am doing well. It is the month of October, so I feel like you are in like the zone right now.
Yes. So as soon as September hit, I started getting the Halloween decorations out. So this past weekend, all the outside stuff went up. It's beautiful. I have Beetlejuice and I have like this motion sensor. It plays a video in my yard of the Beetlejuice movie. Dude, I don't mess around for Halloween. That is my jam.
Well, I mean, you can just tell from some of the items behind you. I mean, I see Freddy Krueger there. I see
Yeah.
all sorts of good stuff in there, living dead dolls. But of course,
Yeah.
one thing I know that I'm not as big of a fan as you are, but I do indulge a little bit in the Power Rangers as well.
Oh, you do.
Just a smidge,
So
not
when you
anywhere near you.
So when you say in the Power Ranger-ness, like the original, like old school Power Rangers?
Yes, I got started watching them obviously when I was a kid.
Cool.
And then I've seen the movie since. And then a couple years ago, I don't know if you remember me being a part of Fireball Run or not.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so one of the contestants was actually the original Red Power Ranger, Austin, and he was awesome. So that kind of like brought me back into it a little bit. Like I said, I don't have any memorabilia like you do, or watch it like consistently, or have tattoos like you do, because I know you have some Power Ranger tattoos. But I dabble.
Yes. Sadly, I do have an obsession. So it's like so many people, they always collect something, but I was like, I'm a child. So I'm just like Power Rangers, that was, I don't know, man, growing up, like, I love the Power Rangers. I wanted to be a Power Ranger. I wanted to date a Power Ranger. So yeah, and since I don't have any kids, I buy toys for myself. So yes.
Well, it's not just you that you buy toys for, because I know both you and your husband, Ed, you guys have a podcast. Well, actually, you have two podcasts, but the one that we'll talk about first is Pop Drunk. And that is one that is strictly dedicated to Funko Pops.
Yes. So what had happened was the husband tends to buy a lot of stuff via the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And he would get these packages and he would just randomly open them up, no big deal. And I'm like, dude, we should start recording like you opening these boxes because you have so many. Like that was it started with his like obsession.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just one day we just decided, like this will be our thing. And then we just decided that we would share with the world our chaos of the Funko Pops. But we have probably close to 2,500. It's insane. Our entire basement is floor to ceiling wrapped around Pops.
Well, when I was doing research for this podcast, I went and I actually watched one of your episodes there on YouTube, and I was like, oh, that looks so cool. Like, I don't collect them because I got like the couple here that I thought were cute and that I liked in my favorite shows or favorite movies. And I was like, this is just way too expensive and I have nowhere to put them. But like, I watched that episode and I was like, oh my God, it's like overload.
Oh, absolutely overload. And the thing is too, like, it started in the basement and now it's grown up to the living room. So we have all these shelves and they're in categories. And so thank goodness though, like, we're only now starting to collect certain things. So he is focusing on like the ad icons, the serial monsters, horror, things like that. Mine's like Power Rangers, little pop culture type stuff. So we hate anime. I hate anime. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
So for Pop Drunk, there's 3 rules.
Mhm.
And, you know, so we encourage people to play along if they're of legal drinking age, of course. You have to take a shot if we pull something that we already have, if it's damaged, or if it's anime. And there have been many episodes that both of us have gotten very, very intoxicated because he'll open one, I'll open one. So it's like we play against each other.
Yeah. It's awesome. Like I love, like I've known you for gosh, probably 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And I don't know Ed as well. I've met him here and there a few times when he's around, but like I don't really see him much. But like the chemistry that you guys have, like just knowing you as a friend, like it's hilarious. And like I love it. You guys are just two like overgrown children just having like the time of your life.
Right. And I think that's like the biggest thing because we both, you know, we were both wrestlers. We met in wrestling, you know, and the way that we just feed off of each other. And I think that's the wrestler mentality. Like
Hmm.
we're just always wanting to entertain. So, yeah. And it's fun, you know, to actually, you know, do something with the husband.
Yeah, and you mentioned wrestling. That's how we met as well, of course. I mean, two girls coming out of Ohio, it's bound to happen because well, when I started in 2007, I know you were around a bit before I was, 2005,
Yes.
6, 2005.
Yeah.
So, I know like at that time there was like 5 or 6 girls in like the area, and
Well, and you
then
say the area, but that's the entire state of Ohio because it
yes.
was like clumped down in Cincinnati and
Yeah.
then you guys were clumped way up here.
Yes, and we're at that time we were about 3 to 4 hours apart, depending on which way you went, and exactly where you were going within the state of Ohio too. Because sometimes you'd meet halfway for wrestling
Yep.
shows or whatever. But so I know that you trained with Les Thatcher originally, and then
Hmm.
with Cody Hawk down in that was HWA.
Yep.
So you got to also train with Nevaeh, who I've had on the show, good friend of both of ours.
Yeah, I was married to Nevaeh for pretty much the beginning of my career. It's, you know, when we were the 2 local girls. So it
Hmm.
was like every single match be like, all right, you and Nevaeh, you guys are having a program. We're like, all right. So yeah, we've definitely, it's funny though, seeing old pictures of both of us, like the
Hmm.
wrestling gear we were in, just like, just the wrestling style and how both of us has like changed throughout the years. It's insane.
Well, for the better too, because
Oh,
I
absolutely. Absolutely.
because I know looking back at some of my photos, I'm like, ooh, what was I thinking? And I know you guys have thought the same thing on some of your older pictures. That, like, I don't know if that's just a wrestling thing in general, where people just look back and they're like, oh, why didn't anybody tell me that was rough? You know what I
I think,
mean?
yeah, I think everybody has to go through that,
Yeah.
you know? So, but I love looking at old pictures. I'm one of the big, like, throwback Thursday type of people. So, I don't know, like, I always like to reminisce over, like, oh, that one time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. Obviously, I don't even know how many episodes I'm in yet so far, but all of them have been my friends so far. So it's like just basically telling stories of like what we did, or, how they've progressed in their careers and so on and so forth. Like it's just fun,
Yeah.
talking about what was and where you are now, I find.
Exactly. And we all grow as people. And I think wrestling has definitely shown us some things in the world, and we have became better people because we have seen all of it.
Yeah, in wrestling, you definitely what's a good word to describe this? Um you are privy to some interesting situations in your life just because you're in the pro wrestling business. And it
Yes,
doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just interesting things happen. It just That's the way it
exactly.
is.
Like a lot of people, they wouldn't believe the situations, the stories, that have really happened. You're like, no, it happened. We have witnesses that this happened. So, wrestling.
Yeah, that's right. But you retired just a little over a year ago. What's it like now being out of the business a year and a half?
So, my last match was at War in Lima against Paloma Star, and we were the very first main event women's cage match. So
Nice.
it was kind of like a big deal. And like I was like, the way I want to go out, I was like, I don't know, like I wanted my mom to be there. She was in the front row. My mom was at my first wrestling show and she was at my
Mhm.
last wrestling show. So, I wanted to go out on a very high note, and I feel like I did that. We beat each other's asses, but it was so much fun. And I'm glad it was with Paloma, because originally when I met her in Resistance Pro in Chicago years prior, um, I mean, she wasn't the greatest by any means, but by the time that, throughout the years when we got to go head to head, it was magical. Like, it's weird to say, but it was just, everything was aligned, the stars, it was great. But so that was a big thing, was
Mhm.
going out on that note. But since then, my body feels better. I enjoy my weekends. Like, those are like the biggest things, is sometimes, yeah, I miss wrestling. I miss the atmosphere. I miss the locker room. Um, I miss entertaining, because you can do podcasts and you can do things like that, but it's a different type of entertainment being in front of, crowds, whether you're good or bad.
Yeah, definitely. I understand. It's to me, it's the adrenaline of being out in front of the crowd and being able to, I say, like, have them in the palm of your hand. Okay, today I'm going to be a heel and I'm going to make them hate me. And to me, I don't know about you. I was a heel for 90% of my career so far. If it goes further, who knows? But it was so easy for me to just like make somebody hate me the instant I came out of the curtain, and I thrived on that. And then when I was babyface, it for me it's a lot harder. For me, I find it's very easy to make somebody hate you within a second, but it's very hard to make somebody like you
I
without
Yep.
anything. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you're in a new town or a new show that you've never been to before, or there's somebody in the crowd that's never seen you before, to come out and be like, I'm a baby face, and they're like, why do we care? So for me, it was so much harder, and I don't know if that's how it was for you.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, honestly, I want to say it's more 50-50, because anytime that I would go to other shows out of the Cincinnati, Dayton area,
Mhm.
I'd always be a heel. So I'd be super excited. I'm like, oh, I'm going to Tennessee. I get to be a heel. I get to, I get to call you guys 30 names, and just because I like to do the Ric Flair heel, like, blah blah blah. I'm great. I'm mighty. But then, do the chicken shit type stuff. And yeah, I definitely loved being heel. It was so much easier, even move wise. It's so much easier to put heat on somebody.
Yeah.
And but I don't know. I definitely, man, that's, now you got me all feeling emotional and stuff. Like, I do miss that. But as a baby face, I think a lot of the promotions too I was at, I was one of the main girls, and a lot
Hmm.
of times I would wrestle the guys. So
Hmm.
I know, you wrestled guys. That's just
Yeah.
kind of one of those things that you had to do in our time, span of wrestling, is there weren't that many girls. Or the ones that, were around were either far away or really expensive or whatever. So you had to
Hmm.
work the boys. So usually when you have a female working a guy, the crowd's going to like that female just a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely, because you have the underdog situation going on there for the most part, depending on who you're working. I mean, if you have a guy who weighs 130 pounds, and it's a little bit more even keel, I would say. But you
Yeah.
never know with wrestling. I mean, I remember when I went to England, I wrestled a guy there, and he was pretty skinny, but he was tall, and like he basically just pulled me by my hair 90% of the match. But like I mean, I'd never been to England at this point, and when I started my comeback, like the crowd came to the ring and started like pounding on the ring, and they're like, Sassy, Sassy. And I was like, oh my God, like this is a moment like I felt, and like I find in intergender matches, you can get that a little bit more because usually the female is the underdog.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Because I was never like lucky enough to go over, seas or anything like that. But no, I've seen the videos and I'm like, man, they're really like on the ring. Like, yeah, just that I love doing bar shows. Bar
Hmm.
shows because, you have people drinking, a little older crowd. But yeah, they were just the intensities. It's a different level.
Definitely. And that's, one of the trips that we were on. We never really rode together anywhere, but we had one trip that we were on together in Florida, which is where we bonded over something that I'm excited to talk to you about because, I mean, we bonded over it, of course, like I said. And to find somebody else who, like, kind of is, I guess we'll call ourselves amateurs at it because we're not getting paid to do it. But it's so much fun. And that is paranormal, going ghost hunting. And I know about 2 months ago, you went ghost hunting I wrote it down here, the Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee. How was that?
Yes. Okay. So that was my third overnight investigation, first time there. So I've been to
Mhm.
Waverly twice and I've been there.
Oh, I'm so
So,
jealous of Waverly, just saying. I got to drive past it and like, it's like all the woods are hiding it. So like I
yeah.
just saw like the top of it through the trees and I was like, it's so close.
Well, that's
But
how I
anyway,
felt when I wrestled you. I think
at
one of the only
Mansfield.
times, yeah, in Mansfield, I was just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I can see it. It's right there." So, I understand. But yeah, so it was just a small group of us. My friend Beth, she kind of organizes all these little, paranormal groups.
Mhm.
Um and she actually lives in a haunted school just north
Ooh,
of Cincinnati. It's between Cincinnati and Dayton. It's called Middletown. And she actually lives in the haunted schoolhouse and they do tours and do all this crazy stuff. So she's kind of like
wow.
she's like my go-to girl.
Hmm.
So she coordinated the trip. There was 6 of us. And so we were there from 8 p.m. No, 6 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Okay.
And so I didn't get a lot on camera,
Hmm.
like photos, a couple people got orbs, things like that. But the biggest thing that was like crazy that happened to us is we were leaving, like we had the home base,
Hmm.
that's where the lights and, snacks and stuff is.
Right.
So we had one room and we were leaving there to like start investigating other places. And we hear this loud buzzing noise. It kind of sounded like a huge thing of locust, like this
Hmm.
like what the hell is this? And we're like looking around and we're walking past and then we turn and we look and we're like, is that the elevator? Mind you, this is in a hospital that's been closed down for over 10 years. um there's no power going to the elevator, and we even had the I'm so bad with names, but yeah,
The EMF
there
detectors.
you go. Yeah, but it just like ran over and it was just like no power anywhere. But we're staring, we're just like, what the hell is that? And it just stopped. And we're like, holy shit.
Oh man.
So that was like the big thing. But yeah, definitely got a lot of like EVPs and stuff. Not so much when we were, well, take that back. So on the second floor, we were in the nursery, but that was also the same floor as like the rehabilitation, like drugs and alcohol.
Okay.
It was that floor. So we would get a recording, like we would ask questions, and then this guy kept coming through and he would say, beer, beer. We're like, beer? We're like, do you want us to bring a beer? Do you want a beer? And it just says, yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was
And then,
was that on a spirit box or did you get that like after the fact?
no, that was on a spirit box,
Okay,
but
on the spirit box.
I have the audio because I was recording from my device
Okay.
and they were doing spirit box. So I actually do have that and it's like the progression, it's like a 10-minute conversation with this, spirit that was in the, he was in rehab and he wanted beer and we're like, well, we can't really bring you anything. And then we were like, well, you need to tell the people that kind of run that place. And we're like, well,
Hmm.
you need to tell that the caretakers. And he was like, all right.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
For
So
those who don't know, EMF detector, which she was talking about earlier with the elevator, that's electromagnetic field detector, so it can tell if there's any electricity going on there. And you said EVPs, that's electronic voice phenomena. Just for those people who don't know who's tuning in, like,
yes.
what are they talking about?
And a
But
spirit
yeah,
box or a
yeah,
ghost box, it like runs through either AM or FM channels and it goes through it so fastly, but it can pick up, like, it's easier for spirits to, I don't
manipulate.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, the spirit box is awesome. It does, like she says, it runs on AM or FM dial and it runs backwards actually. So it's you can't actually detect any words from it. It just basically sounds like static. But the idea is that spirits can take and manipulate that static to make words out of whatever they want. And it's not like you're having, like she says, like a conversation. Like I understand where she is, but like you're not actually having like a conversation. It's like one word and then like you ask a question and then it might take them like another like minute or so to get the energy back up to give another word. It's not like you're like, hey, how's it going, ghost? All right, we're fantastic. It's for
It's
just for people who don't really understand, because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people aren't into it like you and I.
right. Yeah, because it was, it's like one word, like everything that we've gotten, it's the max is like 2 or 3 words, but it's all like real quick.
Yeah.
So, and because it's like I had to download a program, and then you're just kind of like, going through like an hour or two of just like listening to stuff, and then you just like see this little jump in the, in the,
The sound, the
audio or
audio,
what.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, what is that? So then you got to like zoom in on it, and yeah, that's like the coolest thing is like obviously when you're there, but then it gets cool again when you go home and try to like listen and find things that you didn't hear before.
Yeah, definitely. I totally feel that. And I'm actually surprised. Okay, so you've been to Waverly twice, and
Yes.
then you've been to this hospital there. You haven't gone to Bobby Mackey's?
No.
That's
So,
like literally like 20 minutes away from where you live.
yes, yes it is. So, and I've driven past it multiple times to go to work. So, I've okay. So the one time that I went there is it was like an hour before they opened. I'm just really bad with time. I got there and we just kind of walked around the back of the building. We just kind of walked around and I'm just like, I'm not waiting an hour.
Yeah.
And then, but legit, it is, I could throw a rock. It's like 10 miles down the road.
Yeah.
So I will be there. It's on my list. So,
I went there one time. I was going to Louisville. I was going to Louisville for a drag queen show with one of my friends. And we stopped there the night before. We were spending the night at a friend's house before we went all the way down to Louisville. And we stopped there for the night and we got to do the whole tour. We went down to apparently the tunnel that goes to hell.
mhm.
And oh, it's so sick. For those who don't know, look up Bobby Mackey. Music World. It's Kentucky. I know that, but do you know what city it's in?
I want to say that is it Latonia?
I thought it started with an L. Maybe that's correct. Like I
Yeah, I
said,
mean
I
it's
haven't been
like
in years.
legit. It's like northern Kentucky.
Yeah,
It's the Covington, Newport, Latonia area. It's like it's right over from downtown Cincinnati.
but that place is so freaking. It's a country western bar, and it's sick. There was, if you look up, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was possessed, and they had someone come and talk the spirits out of him, and it's online, it's on YouTube, and it is sick.
I
It
have
is.
not seen that.
Oh,
I
I
will have
mean,
to watch.
It's grainy because it's, I think, maybe the early 90s, so, like, the footage isn't, like, the best, but, like,
But
oh
you can
my
hear and know what's going on.
oh my god, it's
Nice.
insane. And that guy, he was the caretaker there, and I wanna say he lived upstairs in, like, an attic area or something, like, it wasn't, well, I don't know if I didn't go upstairs, but, he lived in the upstairs from what I remember, and, like, he ended up passing away there too, I think a couple of months before I went, which this is, like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 years ago now at this time. So, it's sick. If you get to go, and if you like, all you I think you can even ask at the door, like, "Can I take the tour?" And they do, like, tours where they take you downstairs and they take you through the dressing rooms and all that, and they tell you all the stories. It's just it's
I think
something else there.
I think maybe I'm just like so spoiled because I'm like, oh, that's right down the street. I can go anytime I went. And I think that's kind of what it is, because these other like the Waverleys and the Tennessee trip, it's a trip.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you know what?
This
I
is like a
agree with
Thursday.
I agree with that because, I lived in Akron for the majority of my life. And then I never went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it was literally 10 minutes from my house. I
Yeah.
never ever went. And now I mean, I've loved football since I was a child. So why I never went, I just, like you said, basically took advantage of just living there. Like, oh, I can go whenever. And I never did. And now I live in Montreal and I'm like, man, I regret never going
Yeah. You're
to
like, it's so
the
far away.
yeah, I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I didn't go to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. So I was like, man, why didn't I take advantage of it while I was there?
Yes,
What
yes,
are you
because
gonna
I
do?
know that you are a Browns fan. I am a Bengals fan.
Yes.
So it's kind of one of those Ohio struggles, but we've already played once
Yep.
and the Browns got the best of us because you have Hunt and you have Chubbs and they are amazing.
Yeah. Well, Chubbs is injured. He got his MCL
Oh my
injured.
gosh.
Yeah, playing the Cowboys. But you know what? They said no surgeries required. So hopefully, after a little bit of therapy, he'll be back on the field. Hopefully, he doesn't have to take a week off. But we'll see. We'll see. Who knows?
Good. Yeah. Hey,
But
we
yeah,
finally got we got our first win. So
good.
we got a good quarterback. It's just the defense doesn't know what to do.
You know what? As a Browns fan, I totally understand.
I know you get it. I know.
And it's good fun. I mean, we never really discuss sports too much. I mean, we're too busy usually discussing paranormal and ghosts
Yeah,
and
there's so
all
many
that
other
kind of stuff.
random things.
And speaking of paranormal, we'll kind of switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit of horror. Now, I'm not a fan of the horror movies. As I got older, I'm like, yo, this could legit happen, and I'm not down with that. So I've kind of slid a bit away from that. I like a little bit of suspense here and there, but horror movies not my thing. But tell me,
Yeah.
what is your classic go-to Halloween horror movies to watch?
Okay. So growing up, I loved all the like gory, just massive grossness movies. So like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like the Evil Dead movies and like Hellraiser. Like I don't know, like I was just a messed up kid that shh over there. But no, like the older I get, like there's the classics and I like the Devil's Rejects. Um oh, there's just so I find like today I watched the Evil Dead's 1 and 2 and then I watched Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. So, yeah, it's
What
just
what an icon she is.
yeah, she's like the OG triple OG.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. Like, I mean, and can you get more stunning? Even now, like I know she does things here and there with different horror cons and stuff, but like I've seen her on RuPaul's Drag Race. I mean, obviously I mentioned it, I went to a drag show 8 hours away. Um, so I've seen her on there and she's still, oh my God, she's still beautiful. It doesn't look like she's really even aged.
Yes. So, well, we've worked with her before because we were part of a horror convention.
Hmm.
And so we used to get Elvira all the time, and she is one of the nicest individuals, which is really good because they say don't meet your heroes and things like that because you just don't know how they are. But she's a sweetheart and she's gorgeous. She's in her like 60s,
Hmm.
and she's just because when she's not in the get up, and she's
Hmm.
just Cassandra Peterson. she is a hot looking old woman. I'm just like, oh my God, like, I want to be you. So whatever she did, like in the 80s and the 90s, she maintained.
Yeah, I mean, stunning, stunning. Like, I mean, obviously, when she's on RuPaul's Drag Race, she's on there as Elvira, as the character. And I mean, I hope that my body maintains. I mean, she might have had a little plastic surgery here or there, I'm guessing. But
Yeah.
still, like, immaculate.
Oh, yeah. And even if I had to continue with, surgeries and stuff,
Mhm.
I mean, do it. She looks good. She's happy.
Yeah, that's really all that matters. I mean,
Yep.
see, now when I was in high school, my big thing, because you spoke about a little bit of gore, every year at Halloween, I went to see the Saw movies. I loved the Saw movies. Now I'm like, nah, like I said, that could happen because people are sick in this world. And I
Yeah.
understand that a lot more now that I'm a bit older. But whoo, I love those when I was like
Yeah.
probably 18 to like 25 when those were coming out.
The first couple ones are like real good. And then I can't even tell you the last. I think there's 7 of them or
I
something
think so.
crazy. Yeah. So it's like I've seen all of them, but the ones that I really remember, like the first 2 or 3, because isn't Donnie Wahlberg in the second one?
Oh man, I don't even remember. It's
Yeah,
been years
I'm
since I've
pretty
seen
sure.
them.
I'm pretty sure it's the second or the third one,
Mhm.
and the Donnie Wahlberg. So
Of course, New Kids on the Block. That's what's up.
yeah.
But you know what? Another one of my it's I guess you wouldn't even call it a horror is Blair Witch Project, but like underscore that because like the sequel, not the sequel that came out like 2-3 years ago, the like actual sequel called Book of Shadows. Oh my god! Like I don't think people understand how good that movie is, and the soundtrack, by the way, is phenomenal.
Well, it's funny you say that because a lot of people did not like the second one at all.
I don't
Like,
get it.
and I mean, yeah, it's actually really good. And I just remember seeing the first one. I was with my mom and my aunt and my uncle, and we went to see, Blair Witch Project.
Mhm.
And it was when we legitimately thought it was like found footage
Yes, yes,
in
and
theaters. It's crazy.
I remember back then I was watching like Entertainment Tonight or some one of those shows like TMZ before TMZ, and the girl Heather was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, my dad loves like all the things, and his name is this." And it was his AOL screen name. So like I actually talked to her dad. Like I don't know how old I was. I was a teenager. I was like, "Yo, I love Blair Witch. I can't believe." And like he fed into it too. He was like, "Yeah, it's real. I can't believe like, whatever." Like obviously it wasn't real.
That's awesome.
The whole perspective I was off there because obviously she's on Entertainment Tonight. She didn't die in the woods, but whatever. It was that whole like blurring the line of what was real and what wasn't, and it was amazing to me. But
Yeah,
I'm
because
just saying,
I think we saw it legit the first day. It was the first weekend for sure. So it was
hmm
kind of like up in the air. They're like, "Ooh, what's going on with this movie? Is this really something?" So, God, I haven't seen that movie in some years. I have to add that to my list because right now I'm doing the Halloween
yeah.
31. So
Oh, there's lots of people that do that. Like I said, I'm too afraid nowadays to do that kind of stuff. I'm like, wait, what? What am I watching? Hmm?
what's funny, that's how I am with the paranormal stuff because I'm like, because I believe in that. So this
Oh,
could totally happen. Like, I remember growing up as a kid, the movie The Entity
hmm
was the most terrifying thing ever. And I think that's kind of what sparked my interest
hmm
in like paranormal poltergeist type thing. So,
exorcisms and all that.
yes.
Yeah, and I fell in love with it. Well, I fell in love with it. I really got into it because I was liking the TV shows like the Ghost Hunters and stuff like that. And so I think like going from there and then actually going and doing the hunts, like I do it a bit differently because I met a woman in I want to say it was Pennsylvania maybe. She was Wiccan and she did like this whole prayer poem type thing. Not really a prayer because she's Wiccan, but this like poem and like it was beautiful and basically it was like, look, I'm here to learn about you I'm not here to harm you. And she had like sage and like other
Like
little,
purification type
yeah, purification
blessing.
type
Yeah.
things. So every time I go into, which I haven't done in a long time, but every time I would go into a place that is said to be haunted, because like I would never go in saying, okay, this place is haunted unless I had an experience there. Cause I don't know, I'm a little bit different, I guess. And but this woman, like, she showed me like what she did. And so like I would always go in and be like, look, I'm here to learn about you if you want me to learn about you, but I'm not here to harm you. So I wish that you do me no harm. So in that process, I've never really had a negative situation that I've had with the paranormal. And I know it's up for, everybody's opinion, whether or not they believe it or not. I happen to, but like I go in skeptic because like I don't want to go in being like, oh no, this is legitimate, until I experience something. And most places I've gone to, like I said, I go in respectfully and I've had very good experiences.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to go in, respectfully. I always, protect myself with the white light, and I may have a little bag of crystals and herbs and stuff in one pocket, but like, just kind of, go in there, bless yourself, and then yeah, you never want to. That's the biggest pet peeve that I have is watching these like ghost
Yeah.
shows, and they're just like, "Hey, you mother effer!" Like they're yeah, like I hope they mess with you. I hope they get you. Like,
Yeah, like, but I mean, honestly, I mean, it is TV too, so they're doing it probably
yeah,
mostly for, the ratings that they can get in the commercial. Like, oh, look, people will tune in if it looks like I just got, scratched down my back because I was being a complete a-hole. You know what I mean?
yes, yes, for sure. But
What are you gonna do with these people on TV? A lot of it to me is like wrestling. You never know what is real and what isn't. Like there was one show I was watching. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a live Halloween episode, and I swear I can't tell you which one it was. I don't remember. But one of them was talking, and you heard like a recorded voice talk, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear that?" And I'm like, "That legit sounds like somebody just rewound and played something. Like that wasn't, you know what I mean? That was like clear as
right.
day. That was not." In my opinion, but like I said, they're doing TV, so they're blurring that line of reality, just like we do in wrestling.
Oh yeah. I mean, I totally. That's why I can't watch reality TV because I'm just like, because it's not reality. Like, so I stop right there. But yeah, when it comes to like, I'm also like you. Like, I believe in a lot of paranormal and spirity things, but until I have an experience, then that's like, the moment I'm just like, well, I don't care what y'all believe. I
Hmm.
know what I believe.
Yeah.
So, same thing like if you meet somebody also in wrestling, if you meet somebody and be like, "Oh, they're a jerk or they're a horrible person." You're like, "Look, I have never had a problem with this person. We're copacetic. So, I'm sorry." Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you got to remember, people have bad days too. So, like, if you meet somebody and they're
absolutely.
not the nicest, I mean, sometimes they might just be having a rough day. But if you get like the majority of people are like, no, they're just genuinely not a nice person, then you're probably onto something.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Heather, this has been awesome. I love talking everything with you because we can just vibe off of each other and it's awesome. And I know October is like the month to have Heather Owens on because of everything that we talked about, the horror, the paranormal, everything like that. So I just want to take a minute and say thank you so very much for having, or for, not for having me, but for letting yourself be out here on Talking Sass with me. And I hope that we can do this again.
Yeah, I had a blast. Like, I haven't talked to you in forever. And the last time we were face to face, it was, our Florida awesome, bonding trip.
Hmm.
So, no, I love talking to you. And I'm glad we can share in all of this and share it with everybody else. Have some good stories for them.
Definitely. And when COVID's over, we need to go back to Florida and just chill in the ocean.
I agree.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking with this episode with me and Heather. It is so much fun for me to sit down and talk to some of my friends I haven't seen in a while and see what they're really getting into right now. So I hope you'll go and follow Heather on all of her social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It is H2 Owens. And then don't forget to subscribe to her podcast as well, the Best Friends Show podcast, and also Pop Drunk. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe to Talking Sass, either on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sassy Stephie, and of course, Facebook.com/official Sassy Stephie. And Patreon. That's the best thing you can join. You get all sorts of fun, exclusive content from me. I have all my episodes, plus I have a bonus episode, plus I have word association. There's so many fun exclusives. So make sure you go to patreon.com/SassyStephie and subscribe there today too as well. And until next time, guys, stay safe.